Okay, welcome math fans. Here we go again, fractions 2 this morning. Now, unfortunately, we've had some bad news on the maths on the maths live, and that is we've been banned from using music from YouTube. Okay, so this is quite sad. This is, in fact, Warner Brothers have taken my video and claimed ownership. Can you believe that? My own video has been taken by Warner Brothers. Let's hope they offer me a contract. Okay, well, no, I wouldn't leave St. Joseph's, but that's the situation. But luckily, I've found a very, very good music player, local music player, who's going to come in especially to play Amazing Grace. So enjoy, folks. This is Amazing Grace by Bob the Piper from Nantwich. Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, Bob's a little bit shy. He's got to go off now and play some gigs in the local area. Okay, we have to pay him, by the way. He's coming in at £20 an hour, but that's okay. Mr. Wilkinson can pay for that. Okay, so back to the maths. Here we have simplifying. We've got two fractions here: 14 out of 21 and 4 out of 20. Let's go to the 4 out of 20 first of all. Okay, so 4 out of 20, simplifying fractions. So what we learned yesterday is that fractions can often have the same value, overall value. And take this, for example, a little sketch. Come back to that question in a second. Okay, this is the example we did. I've got the example up there, but I'll just sketch it out quickly. Okay, so if I take those two squares there, okay, make the fraction, we've got 2 parts out of 8. We talked about that being out of, we talked about that being the numerator, we talked about that being the denominator, and the numerator is the number of parts that we're going to use or take or whatever with. Okay, look in the question to see that, numerator, and denominator is the total number of parts altogether. Now, instead of thinking this of being small squares, think of it as being columns. So in terms of columns, instead of, imagine I got rid of that line there, that middle line, I'd have 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 out of 4. So these must be the same value, and these are called equivalent fractions. And that word there is a special maths. I know it means other things in English, but it's a special maths word as well. Okay, so let's get on to doing some of this this work here. Okay, so we've got 2 fractions to look at. Let's go to the 1420, like I said. Okay, so what is the connection between the 2 numerators? We notice that we've made that numerator half the value. We've divided by 2. And this number here, we've also divided by 2. Now the rule, the one thing you've got to remember is the number you divide by has to be the same for numerator and denominator. Okay? If that is different, then that's where an error takes place. So as long as you keep that number there the same for both the numerator when we're simplifying it and the denominator, you can't go wrong. So let's take 4 out of 20. We discussed yesterday that does it matter how many steps you take to get the most simplified term of a fraction? And the answer to that is yes and no. A big no for the final answer, though. Big no there, because it matters. It doesn't matter for the final answer, because as long as you get to the final point, the most simplified part, then you've got it right. But the actual yes, it does, is that you can save yourself time, you can be more accurate, and also you're guaranteed to get to the end first if you do it in one step. So we're going to look at doing these in one step today and how it works and things like that. So let's just do these first of all. 4 out of 20. We're going to do this in several steps, or a couple of steps, depending on how it goes. So divide by 2 is always a good option, because that makes the fraction simpler straight away. So that gives us 2 out of 10. But what we notice is there's a number that will divide 2 and 10 again, which is again 2. So you can see we're having to do a series of steps instead of one step. So we're almost doing more work here. Got more work going on here. Thanks for the thumbs up, folks. Fantastic. Almost doing more work here. If we can go from there to there in one step, we will avoid this middle step and we'll get to the answer quicker. So in terms of efficiency, it's a good idea to know how to do this as well. So how can I go there? Divided by 2, divided by 2. 4 to 1, it's got to be a divide by 4. So the same thing for the denominators, divide by 4. 20 divided by 4. Oh, sorry. Somebody tell me there. Yes, I've got a couple of comments. Thank you. All right, 10 divided by 2 is going to be 5. So a bit of a rush job there. Okay, so 4 divided by 4 is 1 in one step, 20 divided by 4. So you can either go the long way round or the short way and try and get it in one step. Now this number here, if you get it in one step, these are all factors, by the way. Factors are numbers that divide the original. But if we can get in one step, that's called the highest common factor. Okay, it's common. Common means the same, because it divides both 4 and 20. And the highest one, because there's no other number higher than that that'll do that job. So let's go to the first one. Okay, and I want you to type in your answers here. All right. So what is the number that'll divide 14 and 21? So let's have your comments, please, in the comment box. And while you're doing that, let's have a few readouts. So a good morning to Lydia Monks this morning. A good morning to Alfie Howard. Okay. Jenny Howard, good morning. Good to see you. Okay. Anybody out there in Cyberland? Make yourself known on the comment box. Oh, good morning, Sophia. Well done for joining us this morning, Sophia. That's great. You've joined us. Brilliant. Okay. So all getting 7 in there. Well done, folks. Okay. So it's nice to see everybody this morning. So we're going to do divide by 7. Brilliant. That's fantastic. So we divide both numbers by 7. This is where we know our times tables. 14 divided by 7 is going to give us 2. Cover that up. We want the minimum amount of stuff here so it doesn't confuse you. 14 divided by 7 is going to be 2. And 21 divided by 7. 1 7 is 7, 2 7 is 14, 3 7s are 21. So that's going to be 3. So you can see that it's made a much easier fraction to deal with. And as we've pointed out earlier, these are the same things. It's like drawing, instead of drawing little squares, it's turning those squares into rectangles and splitting them up into equal parts that are bigger, joining the little parts together to make bigger parts, that sort of thing. Brilliant. So that's where we got to yesterday, pretty much. Now, I think yesterday's video is totally gone. Okay. I'm going to be famous in Warner Brothers. I'm looking forward to that. But you can't go back and watch it, I don't think. So so you need to make sure you've got your head around this, and if you haven't, please let me know, message me or something like that, Google Classrooms or whatever, to say we want a bit more work on the basics. I hope you've got them. Okay, so let's move this forward now. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a worksheet to look at. So common factors and highest common factors. Now let's have a look at these questions. Okay, so what we could do here is we could halve the numbers and halve them and halve them and halve them again. But what I really want you to think about at this stage is thinking, let's try and do it in one step. Now, of course, in an exam or a test, if you do it in a number of steps, you're going to get it right. But the theory behind it is important for our understanding of what's going on in fractions. So we're going to break this down into subsets of factors. So we've got the two numbers 14 and we've got the number 30. Now, factors are numbers that divide the number we're talking about. So we need all the numbers that divide 14. So working through them, 14 divided by 1. Now, 1 is a factor of everything. We don't really need 1 so much, although 1 could be a factor. If 1 was the highest common factor, we can't simplify it anymore. But let's put them down so we know what we're doing. So 2, that's a factor. 3 is a factor here. 30 divided by 3 is 10, but it's not a factor here. 4, not a factor here, not a factor here. 5 is a factor there, but not a factor there. 6, well, 6 5 is 30, so that's a factor for 30. This is where you got to know your times tables, folks. 6 isn't a factor there. Then we hit 7. Okay, so 7 is a factor, but it isn't here. 8, 9, 10, 10 is, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 is, and what we must remember is the number itself. 14 and 30, that goes in there. So they're all our factors. Now, if we search through these, there's only one number that's in both lists, in both circles, and that's 2. So in this case, the only thing we can do is divide by 2, because that's the highest number in both lists. Okay, so let's divide both numbers by 2. Remember, the key thing about fractions, about simplifying them, the key part here is that this number has to be the same. 14 shared by 2 is 7. 30 divided by 2 is 15. And that's as far as we can go. So another thing about getting the highest common factor, one step, you know it's done after that. Okay, right, let's have a look at this one down here, 20 and 24. Okay, so factors of 20 there, factors of 24 there. So factors of 20, we're going to have 1, 2, I'll whiz through them, 4, 5, 4 5s are 20, and then 10 and 20 itself. 24, 1, there's loads for 24. 2, 2 12s. Remember, factors also have factor pairs. There's a match-up. So 5 4s are 20, 2 10s are 20, 1 20. They go together in pairs. 3, yeah, 3 is. 3 8's 24. 6 4s. 5 doesn't. 6 4s does. 6, 7, 8, 8 3s, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 24. Kind of done a clock there, but they can be random all over the place. Right, I'm going to highlight all the common factors, all of them. 1, that doesn't help us, but we'll highlight it anyway. 2, 4, so I'm looking for numbers in that list and that list. I put 2 down twice there, haven't I? It doesn't matter. Cross it out. Okay, 5 is in there but not in there. 4's in there, but not in there. 10, 20, that's it. That's all we've got. So you can see here, we could halve it with a 2, or we could, and then we'd have to halve it again. But if we go in one go, 4 is the highest common factor. So we're going to divide both by 4. 20 divided by 4. Again, times tables essential. Okay, 24 divided by 4 is 6. And that's it. That's how we do that. So the understanding of this is really important. First of all, we've got to have a number that divides both of them. And secondly, to do it in one go, we've got to have the highest number that divides both of them. And that is called the highest common factor. And it's HCF for short. Okay, now don't get me wrong, you mustn't forget that you don't, in an exam, doing it in one hit is good if you can do it, but you don't have to. You'll still get full marks. So just to clarify, I'll do this in 2 steps again. So both even numbers, halve them both. Okay, 10 and 12. Okay, that makes the numbers easier to deal with anyway. Halve them both again. 5 out of 6. Okay, but the important bit about what we're doing today is it's getting that understanding, getting that, we talk about deep understanding, mastery. We're trying to master this concept of fractions, and by doing this common factor business here, we're really building our skills up. Okay, so let's have a go at some more tricky ones. Okay, so take this one. No, let's do this one. 24 and 64. So 24 and 64. So we need the common factors of all of those. Now there's going to be quite a few, so it's going to take us a little bit of time to do. And this is actually where dividing by 2 and dividing by 2 again is actually a better system. But let's see if we can hit the highest common factor. Okay, factors of 24. I will go through them fairly quickly. 1, 2, 6 4s 24. So 4 6, 4 6, 5 6, 8 3s. We've done this already. So and 12. Okay, and 24. Okay, 64. Have a think a minute. See if you can work those out. So we can get 2 down straight away, can't we? 2 down is 2, 1 and 2. And 64. So that narrows it down quite a lot. Now, does 3 go into it? No, it doesn't. 4. Does 4 go into it? 16. Yes, it does. So 4 16s. Sorry, I don't know why I wrote 14. I don't know. 5 doesn't. 6 does. Or does it? No, it doesn't. 7, 8. 8 8s are 64. That's bound to. 9, 10, 11, 12. Does 12 go into it? No, that doesn't. 13, 14, 15, 16 does. Okay. And then I'm going to jump to 32. Oh, let's see if we can. 20, 17, 18. Try 18. Okay. No, that doesn't. 19, 20. Does 24? No. So now we're left with 32 now. Okay. So looking through those lists, okay, can you tell me what is the highest common factor of 24 and 64? I know it's a little bit small, but yeah, zoom in. Well, look at this. Use the technology for zooming in. So what's the highest common factor of 24 and 64? Answers in the comment box, please. Okay, so we've got those answers. Brilliant, well done. Oh, good morning, Dylan. You've joined us. Good lad, well done, matey. Okay, so we got 8. So 8 is the common, the highest common factor. Okay, so now we can do this in one step. Okay, divide both of those by 8. So 24 divided by 8. 1 says 8 is 2, 8, 16, 3 8 are 24. 3 at the top. Out of 64 divided by 8. So I should know square numbers. 8 8 to 64. So folks, we got there eventually. Now, when you look at this now, if I was in an exam, okay, doing all this palaver is great, and this is the deep understanding. But remember what I was saying, if we get to this answer in a GCSE exam, okay, that's the final product. So does it matter if we go a number of steps? It depends what the fraction is. And my point is that if you know the understanding, you can build on that and you know why. So this is really important to practice a little bit of. But if we're in an exam situation and we've got to do all this, we're losing valuable time. And actually, we can get to that stage very quickly. Let's halve both of these numbers. 12 out of 32. You can see how quick that is. And then halve them again. So that's 6 out of half of 32 is 16. Halve them again. Okay, 3 out of 8. Now, be careful as well here. If you're doing this system, by halving, you might get to a stage at the end where you might need, it might be odd numbers. It doesn't mean that's the end of the line. The numbers could be divisible by 3. They could be divisible by 5 and still look like odd numbers, or 7. So just make a careful check at the end of the line if you're doing a number of stages. But that is certainly quicker than doing that. So there's the advantage of the number of steps. Okay, brilliant. Right, that's fantastic. So in GCSE, folks, we're talking about 2 exams, one with a calculator, one without. So this question here would be, could be on both, but it would probably be worth a few more marks if it's on the non-calculator. Now, if you're asked to do this on the calculator question, you grab your calculator. So this is just to finish off, okay? So if I was doing this on the calculator question, 24 out of 64. So some of you might not know this. It's important to know. It's important for me to mention this button here. Got 2 boxes and a line, so it looks a bit like box out of box. You press that. That's your fraction button, and we can put the numbers into that fraction button. 24 at the top. Use this sort of cursory control thing here to get to the bottom. So let's rephrase that. Make sure I'm doing this right in case any maths teachers are watching. 24 for the numerator. 64 for the denominator. And what I like to do is, it's not essential, but what I like to do is press that button to go forward, and you can see the cursor, the flashy bit, going in the middle of the fraction. That means if I'm going to use that fraction for anything else, then it's ready to go. So I always like to do that. Okay, and then all I do to simplify now is the calculator will do all the work for you. Just press equals and 3/8. And I've also got the original there, so I can write them both down. Okay, so one thing I would say, ready for when we go back to school, whenever that might be, probably either end of July or September, I'm thinking, is make sure you've got one of these Casio calculator with this natural display thing. The important bit is you can see your answer, you can see your question. Okay, those basic calculators won't work. And also, I used to say that there are some copies of these calculators out there, but you know, you can't beat the real thing. And they're only about 10 quid. Okay, I've seen them cheaper than that. So please make sure Casio, if you've got like a decent one like Sharp or something like that, my advice, keep that as a spare. go and get yourself a Casio so we're all matching up with the same one. That's it for today, folks. Oh my goodness, guess what's just happened? Okay, so Bob the Piper's just come back. He's just come back for his 20 quid, but he said he'd give us another tune. So we're going to have Scarborough Fair to finish off this morning. So and then we're done for today. So that's all, folks. See you just before I go, remember that tomorrow is not going to happen because I'm in school, and then the next live mass will be Thursday, and we'll look at multiplying and dividing fractions. So over to Bob. Have a nice day, folks.